So Carl Icahn is one of Trump's billionaire buddies, and Trump recently appointed him to be the deregulation czar. Now, Trump says that, hey, this isn't really an official White House position, and it's not an official White House position, but the reason why they did that is because that would mean that Icahn has to divest from all of his countless business ventures. So, they could have put him on the Economic Council. He could have been a top advisor to him, but Icahn and Trump were like, how about we don't do that, because then I can still, make all this money through the various companies that I own and all the investments I have. So basically what this means is Icahn is advising Trump, and he has countless personal business entanglements at the same time. Well, guess what? You'll be not surprised and not shocked to learn that they just made a massively corrupt deal. So Icahn just changed an obscure rule about renewable sources in oil. So by law, it has to be 15% ethanol most of the year. So that's an attempt to try to make it more clean. Well, David Dayen of The Intercept explains here, one of the more arcane elements of the current rule is that oil refiners are responsible to make sure the rule is followed, not the gasoline wholesalers. Icahn is the majority owner of CVR Energy, a refiner who does not have the infrastructure to blend ethanol. As a result, CVR must buy renewable fuel credits to comply with their obligation. In its most recent SEC filing, CVR stated it spent $205.9 million last year on renewable fuel credits. It's particularly egregious because all it is Trump's buddy getting Trump to sign an executive order, and as a result of it, the guy saves $200 million a year. I mean, that's not chump change even for somebody who's a billionaire, as Carl Icahn is. So while everybody in the mainstream media is screaming about Russia, and while they're relying on outrage and scandals that where the dots are not fully connected, and there's a lot of implications, and there's a lot of, an attempt to bullshit you into believing, for example, that Trump is a puppet of Vladimir Putin. Instead of focusing on that nonsense, why not focus on the real scandals? Why not focus on something like this? Because this actually would generate outrage. Because there's truth to it, and this would make it so that the American people say, oh, you're just like the rest of them, and you may even be worse because you're more brazen with your corrupt dealings and your personal enrichment and looking out for your buddies and your nepotism. So, but there is a reason why they don't focus on this. Number one, it's not sensational. Number two, the media are part of the establishment. They are the elite. So what happens when they're all part of that same circle? You can't really focus on stuff like this because even under presidents that you adore and that you love, you have corrupt deals going on, and you can't set the precedent of going after the corruption because then you'd have to talk about the corruption with the administrations you love. So there's like a silent agreement that, hey, everything we discuss has to be not about that, because if it's about that, then eventually the game gets blown up for everybody. And it's not nefarious. It's that they hire people. They wouldn't be in the position that they're in if they really rock the boat and if they really question the underlying assumptions of the way the system works. I mean, this is Noam Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent 101. There's a reason why Don Lemon gets a lot of airtime on CNN. There's a reason why Wolf Blitzer gets a lot of airtime on CNN, because they've been properly vetted and they've gone through the different filters in the system, and everybody knows, hey, put them on air. They're kind of airheady, and they won't question the underlying assumptions as to how the system works. So with Don Lemon, the worst you get is the offhanded, stupid comment about, hey, maybe that missing plane went into a black hole. Oh my God, you're so stupid. Who says that? With Wolf Blitzer, anytime he says something stupid, it's a bias in favor of the establishment. So he says, hey, I'm really concerned when Rand Paul wanted to stop arming Saudi Arabia. Wolf Blitzer said, yeah, but Rand, what about all the jobs that'll be lost by, if we stop selling machines of death to Wahhabi maniacs? What about the profits of the defense contractors? See, these are the kinds of people you hire. Because if somebody were to get on air and say, hey, this is crazy, we have a military-industrial complex that gets rich off of selling death and destruction around the world, well, then you wouldn't be in that position. You'd be fired immediately. You wouldn't have gone through stage 1 in the vetting process. So that's why you don't hear about stuff like this. And also, they have the attention span of a gnat, so they can't get through the entire article explaining the corrupt dealings with Carl Icahn and Donald Trump and the refinery and the wholesaler. They get to the word refinery, and they're like, oh, I need a break. Somebody get me a mojito. I'm tired of this. So, I mean, it's just so sad to see that the real scandals are there, man. I mean, there's a reason why our government, or I should say Congress, has a 9% approval rating on a bad day and a 21% approval rating on a good day. It's because everybody knows they're voting for the lesser of two evils in every election, and everybody knows that the politicians are representing the special interests who paid for their campaigns. But that will not get discussed. That will not get discussed on air, because to do that is to say the United States is functioning as an oligarchy and not a democracy. And God forbid you say something that extreme, but it's also true, on air. Again, you wouldn't be in that position. You wouldn't be one of the lead anchors on CNN. Erin Burnett on CNN, which, by the way, she is still alive and she does still have a show on CNN. I know nobody watches it, so I just want to reassure you of that. Her biggest moment was scolding the Occupy Wall Street protesters. Really? Really? You guys are like questioning Wall Street? Really? I'm not kidding. She did a whole rant scolding them. That's why she's in the position that she's in. So real scandals, no coverage. Nonsense scandals about Russia, talking about, hey, Kanye West and President Trump met, Steve Harvey and President Trump met. Let's talk about that and how they're going to help inner city kids. Shit like that. Let's talk about that nonstop. But when he actually is engaged in corrupt deals, legalized bribery, things of that nature, got nothing to say.